The war began in 1954 after the rise to power of Ho Chi Minh and his Communist Viet Minh Party in North Vietnam, and continued against the backdrop of an intense Cold War between two global superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. More than 3 million people were killed in the Vietnam War. More than half were Vietnamese civilians.
I was born in 1942 in upstate New York, a little town called Troy. I was working and full-time and going to school at night. I worked in an architectural office as a draftsman.
Okay.
That was before computers. So I worked there for about 3 years, and then I got drafted.
During the Vietnam War, about 2/3 of American troops were volunteered. The rest were selected for military service through the drafts. In the beginning of the war, the names of all American men in draft age were collected by the Select Service. Most of U.S. soldiers drafted during the Vietnam War were men from poor and working-class families. The least political power sections were mistreated. As a matter of fact, American forces in Vietnam included 25% poor, 50% working class, and 20% middle-class men. But very few came from upper classes families. Many soldiers came from rural towns and farming communities.
Drill sergeants screaming at us, yelling, and telling us to get off the bus, and then, who told you to bring your little duffel bag with you, whatever you were carrying your stuff in, put it back on the bus, put it back on the bus. Now go get it. It's stuff like that, and then you learned all about how the Army operated, about the different types of weapons. Specifically, in my case back then, it was the M14 was the rifle that they were using then, and you went out on the range and you went through courses in escape and evasion.
The M14 rifle, 7.62 millimeter, is a lightweight shoulder weapon. It is somewhat similar to the M1 rifle in functioning and appearance, but with additional characteristics of other small arms. The M14 rifle is designed for both full automatic and semi-automatic fire. In semi-automatic fire, each squeeze of the trigger fires one round. By turning the selector to full automatic, fire is continuous as long as the trigger is held back and there are rounds in the magazine.
I didn't find it that hard. I enjoyed the service. I had some previous military experience in high school. My first 2 years of high school, I went to a military school, and so I was a little familiar with the decorum that's necessary in the military, and so I actually ended up becoming what they call the acting platoon sergeant for my platoon in basic training, which means I was like an acting sergeant, I was leader. Put in to go overseas, and I put in for Germany. I ended up being sent to Korea. Went to Korea for like 5 months, and then I volunteered to go to Vietnam, and ended up going to Vietnam, and I had to extend my, I was being in the draft, I was only enlisted for 2 years. I had to extend my enlistment to complete a full year in Vietnam.
Was that your choice?
That was my choice. Yeah, I Vietnam was just starting up. This was like 65.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And so I was young.
Yeah.
Thought, I want to see what it's all about.
Exactly.
And volunteered. So I ended up going there, and I was stationed in a place about 40 miles south of Saigon called Vung Tau. I was a crew chief on an Army aircraft called a Caribou.
The Caribou is a Canadian-designed and produced specialized cargo aircraft with short takeoff and landing capability. The Caribou was first flown in 1958, and although mainly retired for military operations, is still in use in small numbers such as rugged bush aircraft.
To do my basic job as a crew chief, we would go out every morning at about 6:30. We take off and fly up to Saigon, get our orders for the day, pick up supplies, troops, whatever they told us, and then fly out and deliver these things to these bases. We'd fly all day long, come back maybe about 4 or 5 o'clock whenever you finished.
Yeah.
And then it was a case of you could go into the village and go to a bar and have a drink. I mean,
wow.
we were lucky.
Yeah.
We weren't out where there was a lot of enemy activity or anything. I think in the year I was there, I only remember 2, maybe 3 times coming under fire at the base. When we were out flying, we were, coming under fire probably 3 or 4 times a week.
Oh.
I was wounded one time. We were coming into a special forces camp, and we had ammo on board, and we radioed in to see if the field was clear and secure. They whispered back to us that it was. We should have known then that it really wasn't.
Yeah.
As soon as we started coming in, we were about 50 feet off the ground. We started taking fire, and there was two of us on board that day, the 2 crew chiefs, and the one guy he took a direct hit in the knee, and then I got hit with shrapnel from the aircraft, from some of the metal when they were firing at us, and so I got hit in the leg, and so we immediately aborted the landing and took off again, and they took us down to Saigon, and we went to the hospital there. I was only in there for like a couple of days. I was in our operations office, and they always had radios on with units out in the bush, and a few times I heard firefights over the radios. And like I say, it's something might happen, and it happens for like 60 seconds, 80 seconds, and it just sounds like total chaos, just a lot of screaming, yelling, firing. And boom, the next thing you know, it's
Yeah.
I think a good experience is meeting different people. I mean, I met a lot of the local Vietnamese people there. Our unit we were in an area that was not under fire a lot, you know.
Oh,
so
okay.
we had freedom to. I mean, I lucked out. I was not an infantryman. I wasn't out in the bush, you know, for weeks at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, we had barracks. We lived in old French military barracks
Okay.
that had been built way back when the French were there. We had hot running water for showers, which was unusual. Had a mess hall, you know, you ate regular food, you know. Had a PX there. So, you know, my experience is a lot different than somebody who was an infantryman and was out in the bush all the time.